there, my name is Marilyn Oma Anona, the highly inspiring one, the phenomenal one, the one who is always allowed to make sure that your performance is top-notch. Today on my Living Show, I'll be talking about something that you need, something that almost every young person out there needs to hear. And I'll be having an interesting guest. I'll be talking about you in a subject or topic that says your background has no reason to keep you to the ground. Yes, I wrote a book titled Self, which is a book I recommend for every young person out there. A lot of times in life, we want to take the easy way out. And one of those easy ways is blaming everything but ourselves. I understand that so many things about life and in life are beyond our making. Yes, I have a very broad and vast understanding of life. I know that there are so many things you and I cannot influence. There are so many things you and I cannot stop from happening. There are so many things that our physical strengths cannot do for us. But I also know that there are so many things that we can do for ourselves that will make us succeed, if not in all aspects of our lives, but in very many other aspects. Your background cannot keep you to the ground. Earlier in the week, I visited an orphanage with some of my friends, and this was the subject that was talked about. It gladdened my heart to hear their proprietress, a certain Mrs. Mose, say to them, right here, some of you are going to occupy very high positions in the society. So being brought up in an orphanage cannot keep you down. And that is the truth. If you're very, very familiar with history, you will know that most of the people we celebrate today are people that came from nowhere to where they now occupy. And today we're all saying, wow, I wish to be like him, I wish to be like her. Many people came from very poor backgrounds. We have had presidents in Nigeria who told us stories of how they didn't have a shoe growing up, but they ended up becoming a president. And a person comes to my mind, Goodluck Jonathan. And there are so many stories like that. Your excuse should not be what your mother could not do, what your father could not do, what your older sibling could not do, what that uncle of yours could not do. Your story should not revolve around that. With me on today's episode is someone who has a very inspiring story of grass to grace. He is a young man, yes. And being a person who is big on process, I know that his journey has not yet started. But right now, at the stage where he is, he inspires. The first time I heard his story, I couldn't help but cry. This is someone that hawked all manners of things. Someone that couldn't even enjoy the pleasure of a mattress growing up, as basic as a mattress is. I don't want to spill all the stories, but I'll be right back after the break with a lawyer, a Nigerian lawyer, and a blogger, and someone who has mentored over 1,000 Nigerian youths in his business to become as good as he is or even better. After the break, Barrister Nwankwo will be joining me. See you then. Welcome back. So before the break, I told you about this very inspiring young Nigerian whose story is, he's still young, so he hasn't reached his destination yet, but please permit me to call it from grass to, he's heading to grace, right? Your background has no reason to keep you on the ground. With me on the show is Barrister Remedy Nwankwo. His name alone is inspiring, Remedy. That's providing solutions, right? Remedy, I feel so honored to have you on this show today. The topic is background. We're all young people. We know what's happening every day. We know that, yes, there is no perfect system. We know there are lots of hardship, unfavorable situations and conditions. But we also know that if we want to be realistic, that we can make it if we really push. Now, you're very much apt for this very episode. Why? Because your story is real. Because you're coming from... I told them before you came on the show that you didn't have the luxury of a mattress growing up.
I didn't.
Mattress, very, very basic. I'm sure most of you watching us cannot relate. He hawked more than 10 things growing up in the streets of one of the worst places you can live in, Onitsha. He's here. Before we go into the topic, Remedy, please introduce yourself properly. I've told them you're a lawyer and a blogger, but I'm sure there are some vital things that I might have omitted. So, who is Barrister Remedy Nwankwo?
Oh, all right. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
You're welcome.
Remedy Nwankwo is a lawyer by training. He's a digital entrepreneur by calling, by decision, by vocation. I run digital businesses. I do blogging and some other digital enterprise. Just like Oma here said, law and the practice of law is something that, you know, pushed and propelled me to study law. The idea of justice, the idea of, rights, human rights, were the things that were me to study law. But after studying law, I also found joy and passion in tech. So I got into digital entrepreneurship. So that is what I do now. And that is. And
you also empower, or did I lie? I'm sure I told them that you've empowered over 1,000.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the part of empowerment on me, on my side, is because of my background. Okay.
Okay, we'll get to that. Yes. The background thing. You see, everything is aligning.
Yes.
Your background cannot keep you on the ground, right?
Yes.
Every one of us, we face adverse situations. Starting from scratch is not easy. But what do you have to say to Nigerian youths who always complain about their parents not doing enough, lacking everything they should have had while growing up, and that being the reason why they are struggling eventually? What do you have to say to them?
For me, it's a simple thing. Of course, to many people, it's not simple. But I feel, just like I wrote yesterday on my Facebook page, I tried to encourage people, and I wrote something, and it's quite instructive to answer your question, that your destiny, your future is in your hands. What you turn out to be is not a function of your background, it's not a function of your parents. There are people that came from very wealthy homes, you know, that turned out to be not so great people, right? But then, what you want to be is entirely up to you to decide. It's your decision to make. Your parents will provide a foundation and possibly even push you. But if you don't have that foundation, you have to also understand that you can create one. You can create one. You can be just about anything you want to be. Alright? And then, what you didn't have, you can provide for your children. So, that which you want to be is entirely up to you. So, you cannot say that because you come from a very poor background that you cannot get by. You can indeed get by.
Alright. Before you came on, I already told them that your upbringing was, like they said, you are from the trenches. But now, oh God, you need to see how he lives, right? He is inspiring. Tell us a bit about your background so that the viewers will know that you're not coming from... You know, sometimes when you talk, especially on the social media, people just assume that you're talking from a privileged position. Yes. They look at you, the glitz and the glamour. You now live in a big house, you drive a luxury car, you know. They just get offended. Yeah. What's this one saying? Because he's lucky.
He's privileged.
Thank you. Please, can you tell the audience what your upbringing was like?
Well, I get the idea and the angle of privilege. I get it a lot. People just say, oh, Remedy, you're lucky, you're privileged. And I'm like, I am not very lucky. I am not quite privileged. Well, I was lucky to be born to my parents. They are very amazing people. Just that they didn't have money growing up. So the idea of privilege and the glitz and glamour you see around now, it has not always been there. And like you said, I came from the trenches. I didn't come from the trenches. I came from the trenches of the trenches.
Oh my
They are
God.
two different things. No, it's very important to say that. There's a difference.
For people to know the gravity.
Trenches have categories.
Oh
there
my
are
God.
trenches and there are trenches of the trenches.
trenches.
So I came from the trenches of the trenches. Okay? So I was born in my place, in my village. I come from the State. So I was born in America, my hometown. Growing up, we lived in a hut. The idea of hut is a mud house that is thatched. I was born and raised in that mud house that is thatched.
Wow.
Okay, so we had something that we used to have a mat somewhere like this, and then you have a place, a fireplace where you cook and all the things you do. Inside
In the same hut.
In the same hut, yes, the same hut. And your parents have to lie with you guys, and everybody has to make space. You know, so you just lie and squeeze yourself. Everybody stays in there. It was just a very horrible thing. Okay, and then my father used to move from town to town that time. He was scouting for jobs. He did a lot of junior jobs to get by. And then when he travels, sometimes he would spend like 3 months and not come back home. And then my mother would have to battle. Do you know what it means that your father maybe traveled to Onisha and then he's sending your mother perhaps 2,000 naira for a full month or 3,000? It's so horrible. And then you have to wake up every day, you know, prepare and trek for kilometers to access primary school. We didn't have the luxury of nursery school, let alone daycare or what you have, whatever you have now. It's primary, straight up. And you have to trek for kilometers to go to that primary and come back.
Wow.
And sometimes you don't even have slippers, you have to walk barefooted. It's that bad. So the idea of feeding was a difficult thing. I remember when I was growing up, sometimes my mother would just go to the back of our place. There are leaves that she just go and cut. Leaves that are not ordinary. Leaves that are not so very great. And she just put it together and it becomes soup. This idea of a goosey or bono
was luxury to you.
A lot of luxury. These things, necessities were
lacking.
Necessities and necessaries, fundamental things were luxury. A lot of luxury. It was so bad that when I was growing up, I used to imagine and hope and pray that one day I will grow to afford to eat a full lap of chicken alone for myself.
Wow.
Like I can't imagine that somebody, when I was little, I used to watch Aki and Popo, and I see them eat a full lap of chicken. I was like,
You were looking forward to that.
I was looking forward to eating a full lap of chicken alone that is not shared with my siblings. Normally you have to cut meat or you can imagine that a full fish, let's say Titus fish, we can't afford to buy a full one. It has to be cut. Yes, when I was growing up, my mother could not afford to buy a full fish to cook. It has to be cut, so probably cut into 3. They will not buy one. It is that one that will be broken into pieces to all of us. So we struggled like that to go through primary school. And when I was in primary 6, I got a scholarship.
Oh wow!
To do my secondary school.
Wow.
Which of course I didn't use anyway. A lot of circumstances around that. Then I managed to get to SS3, and I happened to meet a mentor who introduced me to self-help books, motivational books. I started seeing that life could, go better.
Get better.
Yes, and I stopped being angry with my parents. So I realized that they didn't have money. Okay, they are good people. Since I was born till now, I'm 30 now. My father has never quarreled with anybody. He never settled the case with my father and anybody. So from that guy, I started reading a lot of books. Why Ask Why by John Marshall, The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale, and some other great amazing books. And then I realized, just like you asked earlier, that my destiny was in my hands. I could actually be something. And then I started dreaming of being alive. And then
that would have been a very crazy dream to
us. I was cajoled. I was mocked. People cajoled me. People laughed at it. It doesn't make sense. Your father doesn't have money. Your mother doesn't have money. How exactly in this
do
life
you want to? You must be delusional.
You even want to go to university? It's crazy. You even want to go to university, and not just I want to study law. It's out of this world. So I left my school, and then I traveled to. I had a friend in Anambra, Onisha, that time. Okay. So I told him I wanted to go into school and then to save some money. I went to join him, and then we started doing the business in quotes that he was doing. So we started with lacasera and juice.
My goodness.
You load up juice, Viju milk, lacasera, Coca-Cola, Fanta, malt. You load it up in a basket. You carry it around. Sometimes you chase buses around. Sometimes you give somebody Coca-Cola and the person will drive off. You have to run and chase the person.
All that torture.
Yes, and then again, it was a cold season, so we were using ice block to chill the drinks, and it was so horrible. You have to wake up very early in the morning, 5 a.m., and then go to the streets and start your day because there are buses going to Lagos. You have to catch up with those buses and all that and all that. So move from there to Gala. Move from selling Gala. All these people you see in streets that have very big carton loaded with Gala.
And you were a teenager.
I was a teenager at that point. But I knew that wasn't the end. It was a means and end. It was not my end. That was a means.
So you've seen it all. You've really, literally, you've seen it all. I want to ask a very important question now because, like I said, sometimes I'm even restrained from saying certain things on social media because people will say, "You're privileged, get out." You've not been in their shoes.
Yes.
Now, I want to ask you this question. People often say, which I don't believe, that some women take to prostitution, some men take to crime, robbery, yahoo, because they are from poor backgrounds. What do you think about that?
I think it's a decision. That is my view. Whether you decide to be a good person or you decide to do bad things, it's entirely a decision. Really. My mother didn't have money, but she raised me in a very strict Christian home, Assemblies of God at that time.
Wow.
Yes. So that background was also playing a key role in my life. There were friends I was not allowed to have and keep, even though we were living in squalor, very terrible thing. So we had this concept of God, this concept of purity, this concept of
morals, chastity.
Exactly. So at the end of the day, all those things came together to form me. And I was actively involved in my church. When I was in my home, I was the commandant of Royal Rangers at that time. I had roles, I was youth secretary, I played roles in my church. So I was actively involved. Now, at the end of the day, whether or not you were trained in a church way or religious way, it still boils down to a decision. There are very terrible people in churches. There are great people outside churches. So it's a decision. What you want to do.
There are even children of wealthy men who took
Exactly. There are people who come from very wealthy, homes that do a lot of nonsense.
True.
Right? So it is your decision. What you want to do is your decision. And that's why I have issues when people say it is the devil. You do something and you say it's the devil. It is not the devil. You decided to do it.
Exactly.
Taking responsibility is very convictions. Key. It's very key. And I think one very cardinal point to make is that if you're raising children or young people, learn to teach them to take responsibility. It's very important. When I was growing up, I was literally responsible for my younger ones. So my mother is away trying to.
Are you the first child?
Yes, I am the first son. First one and first child. First among equals. So when my mother is away doing one or two things, I have to cook for my younger ones. I have to take care of them. If somebody is looking for a trouble, I have to step in.
Fight
I have
for
to
them.
do things.
Yeah.
Right? That was a sense of responsibility. And if you leave them and go out, when my mother comes back, you have to explain and you will collect.
Exactly. You will collect. This is a very interesting episode.
So
really.
You will collect, and then that creates this idea of responsibility,
accountability, ownership.
Exactly. So even when you leave home, you know that if you decide to pour this water, you are responsible for it. You did it. It's not because you came from a place that you poured water. It is because you wanted to pour water. It's a decision. That decision is anchored on a sense of responsibility. Do you understand? So it flows from that decision making point to responsibility.
It doesn't stop.
Exactly.
And it transcends to every other thing about you.
Exactly.
Wow. Mr. Remedy. Oh, Barrister Remedy. Now, I see what you do. I followed you for, and sometimes I may not comment, but I like to study people because I'm a very analytical person. You have an academy.
Yes.
Skiller. I love the name, by the way.
Thank you.
Now I see you train young people a lot, and I've seen sometimes in the comment section, these same people that complain of not having a source of livelihood, instead of them to take advantage of the free courses, they are still trying to bully you into giving them handouts. What do you have to say about the handouts and the giveaway culture, of our youths?
Okay, the point I have to make first and foremost is that I don't believe there's an amount of money I can give to a stranger that can totally transform that person's life. Because I believe in process. If you don't have a process and foundation, if I give you 1 million, in 1 year you'll be poorer than you were if I give you that 1 million. Money amplifies the real you. It refines, it fine-tunes what you are. So if you're a spender and I give you money, you will spend it. If I give you 10 million naira now, you may probably start one business, but it will fail. Why will it fail? Well, I'm not wishing you evil anyway. But I know that it will most likely fail. Why? You are not used to that kind of thing. You don't have a process. You don't have a foundation.
You didn't grow that money.
That is why sometimes God delays blessings. Because there are some blessings that God will give to you that will destroy you. But you don't know it.
Sure.
There are people now that if God make them billionaires now, they probably become wayward. They probably become if they need money and they are used to a certain kind of lifestyle, they will do just about anything. So I don't believe there's money I can give you
that will keep you for life
for you
and make you.
That is cardinally part of the reasons why I started the academy, the Skill Academy. At the Skill Academy, what we do is focus on teaching young people, young Africans, how they can liberate themselves from any financial shackles they have through digital skills. I believe that the fastest and arguably the most sustainable way to lift anybody out of poverty
is to
and sustain that person is to empower that person with digital skills. And that's what we're doing. Why? Because digital skills were part of the things that changed my life, transformed my life like miraculously. You can't even believe it. Right? So I don't believe I can give you money. I believe I can give you a way to make money. You can be making that money by yourself.
Teaching them to fish.
Exactly. So if I hand you out fish, when you're done eating and you're hungry tomorrow, what will I do? I'll keep giving you. How many people can I indeed give like that? That cannot work. But with the academy and the things we are teaching, we've been able to touch thousands of lives.
Okay, the audience might want to know, what are some of the skills you teach at the academy?
Okay, so Skill Academy is a digital platform where we teach digital skills. So we say that Skiller is a place to learn skills, digital skills on the go. Digital skills you can bank on. And some of those things include blogging, e-commerce, copywriting, freelancing, crypto trading, and a couple of graphics. The idea of graphics. Yes. Virtual assistants, social media management, content writing, a couple of other things. So what we focus on are basically skills that will empower you
immediately.
Exactly. In fact, we released a free course on graphics. I think it was 2 days ago, and somebody took it. And yesterday, somebody gained the job from that course. It is that effective. You can learn something today and start practicing and get.
So all of these courses are relevant.
Yes, some are free, some are paid courses. We want to impact you. Like, we want to teach you something that will touch your life this week. Not next year. We need something you can pick up as somebody, as a small guy in one corner of your village or in one corner of your town or somewhere in Africa, any city, just about anywhere. We need a skill that we can teach you today that will make a difference in your life. Like, you can start seeing something.
Not the type that when you're done teaching them, they start looking for 5 million naira to set up.
No. These are things you can learn today and most likely implement. Why? Because the things you need to implement, you already have them. For instance, you already have a phone, a smartphone. Most people just go online and they're using their phone and they're just chatting and whiling and wasting away their time. That same phone, violence as they say. That same phone you're using to chase around violence. That same phone you're using to chat and say hi, hello, good morning, how are you, have you eaten? Baby, how far? What's up? You can use the same phone, come to skiller.academy, and then you learn a skill. Okay? It could be graphics, it could be blogging, it could be anything, and you offer that skill and gain value, change your life, impact your life. Currently, we're releasing free courses. We released one. Our target is from this month, we want to be having at least 5,000 people learn for free on Skiller every single month. And the course we release this month, over 2,700 persons have taken it. The course we release this month, and it's less than 3 days. Over 2,700 persons have taken the course for free. And some of these people are sending me a lot of graphic design from everywhere. Wow. And these are people that have never done anything graphics.
I think I need to clap for you at this point.
They've not got anything graphics.
Doing well.
And these people will design and send to you. Some of them will even use my picture, design, and I will be so wow.
It goes to tell how effective the courses really are, because for someone not to have done graphics before, and then, you know, in a space of few days, they pick up the skill and they're already practicing and all that.
What we do is that we bring coaches who know what they're doing.
Oh, great.
So we say, give us the nitty-gritty of what you do. Break it down in a layman's understanding. Something that somebody in secondary school can get. We want it at that level. Break it down. Step by step, all the way to the end. And then when you're done teaching us, tell us how money is made in this thing. Because to have a skill is one thing. To make money, the business of that skill, incorporate it. And then we pay and get that in from a coach. Depending on the field, you must be somebody doing something. You must have very relevant, evident, manifest results.
Track record.
Before we can work with you, we'll get it, we put it out there, and people learn and change their lives. It's so amazing.
Wow.
It's so amazing. Even before I started the academy, I just wanted to have a structure around it. I was doing it before I started the academy. Even though I came from the trenches of trenches, I've raised millionaires who are millionaires through digital skills.
I'm aware.
Right? So I was already doing that, but I needed a structure that I can offer it to a larger populace. Okay?
Wow.
Any African, anywhere. You don't need to know.
Can access.
Exactly. Sometimes I go out, if I travel to Lagos or Port Harcourt, people just meet me and say, oh, I took so course from you. I'm so grateful. That's my joy. That is my fulfillment.
Impact. Impact. Okay. See, when you are authentic, it just flows. See, don't let this juice pass you by. Go on social media, Facebook particularly, and follow this young man. And I tell you, you will be grateful. In fact, you keep on being grateful to me for bringing him on this show. Now, the last question would be, I have followed you. You are a principled man, right? We live in a very chaotic world now. Millennials, Generation Z, they are said to be these two generations are said to be generations of people without morals, values, lack of respect, different things. So when we see someone who is outstanding in terms of morals, I'm not talking of money now, it's very, very glaring. And you are one. I'm not saying it to make you feel good. You are principled. I remember one event we went to together. Maybe you've forgotten, and they were talking about certain lifestyle. And you were saying, no, I can't go. I don't want to mention it before they say we want to claim self-righteousness. But I want to know. I want you to spell out these words. What are the values and the principles you live by as a person that has helped you to come out of the trenches to, you know, the processes you've passed to the stage? Because, come on, you are doing well for yourself. And certain values and principles must be responsible, or at least have contributed to where you are right now. So, can you just list the top 3 values or principles you live by that have helped you as a person?
Okay, I think the first thing is the can-do attitude. It's very important. I don't believe I can't do anything. And when I approach you for a proposal or anything and you say no, I don't take no
for an answer.
I don't. I always believe that I can do what I set my mind to do. It's very important. When I was in school, in the university, when I was studying law, I gained admission. Of course, when I was in the streets, hawking and saving up money, I was always reading. If I come back from hawking, I'll try to read. And those living with me that time, we laugh it off.
I can imagine.
Why are you reading? Then I proceeded to write JAMB, and I passed the flying colors, and then I gained admission. I got into school. We happened to sell a couple of things to raise the first school fees. Then they got to 200 level. School fees again became a very difficult thing. Then from 100 level, I was applying for scholarships. Because I had heard that students can actually win scholarships on merit if you can pass the exams and all that. So usually I will apply. And of course, if you apply, they will need to invite you for the exam. It's when you are invited and you pass the exam that you need the scholarship.
Granted.
Exactly. So those days, I want to apply, and I'll call my friends, 2 of them. Say, guys, come, let's apply for this scholarship. Oh, NNPC is doing scholarship. Let's apply. So we did the first one, we're not invited for exam. Second one, we're not invited. Third one, we're not invited. And they all gave up. But I continued, and I did 14 applications without success.
Wow.
Because
at that age?
Yes. Yes. I was so pumped up with motivation. You see these motivational books, inspirational books, people think those things don't work.
They do work.
They do. They do work on your psyche. Right? Those days, I was so pumped up. Like, I knew that consistency was super, super, super important. And these things, it's not like I pay a lot of money to apply. It's free application. How can
all you need is your drive.
So the issue was that those guys believe that people that will get that scholarship are privileged people who are connected and all that. I didn't believe that. I believed that I could. In fact, I told one of them in 2013, I told one of them that if 10 people will get this scholarship from America, I will
be one of them. And you were
I continued until 14th applications. I did not get any. And this attitude of pushing forward leads me to the second principle, mentorship. Super, super important. The fastest route as a young person to getting to wherever you want to get to is to finding somebody who has done that thing before and leveraging that person's knowledge and standing on that person's shoulder. That is the shortest cut. So after the 14th application, I was not invited. I traveled to uni then to learn how to properly apply. I went to meet people who are on scholarship because there was nobody on scholarship in the whole of EBSU, Emerson University. There was nobody. I learned it. I saw the mistakes I was making. On the 15th application, I was invited for exam. I went in, I wrote the exam, I aced it. I was NNPC getting a scholarship. So, the drive, the consistency, and then, of course, the mentorship.
Yes, that shows, the mentorship shows you are always open to learning and, what do I call it now? You're teachable. Exactly,
exactly. Super, super important. Okay, I cannot emphasize the place of mentorship enough. I can't. So, there are a lot of things I've accomplished in my life that, were anchored on mentors. You don't give me money. I don't take money from you. But
you don't give him money. Did you hear that?
Direction. And most times, your direction, your name, that I can talk to you, it just flings doors open. Wow.
You are
wise. So that gives me way more. If I pick up my phone now, I could call people. I have a big mentor, like I mentioned his name now, he's very popular. I could pick up and call him, and he will pick. But I will be with him, and his cousins are calling me, he cannot pick because he believes that they're going to beg him for money. And if he picks, he's there, you will see them begging for money.
Are you hearing all that?
But if I'm going to see him, I come bearing gifts. Very expensive.
People will take you seriously.
Very expensive gifts. I come bearing gifts. I give. It just in accordance with your capacity. I give. And whenever I call him, he picks up, we talk. I can never.
Remedy, I think an episode is actually very short for the kind of this is vibes on vibes, man. Like, we'll do this again.
Thank you.
You wanted to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to, which is the last one. Okay. Anyway, the last one is looking out for opportunities. It's so important. If the whole world is moving like this, ask why they are moving like that. Don't just join everybody. When I was called to Barr in 2018, we all got into law practice and all, but I started asking myself. I got into law practice, and in my first time of doing law practice, I actually volunteered.
Okay.
I volunteered my services to a law firm. And my principal said that in his over 20 years of law practice, I've never seen a young man I wanted to volunteer. It's
actually rare.
Yeah. So try to chart your course.
Don't just sit back and
don't follow the bandwagon. Don't the head mentality. Don't need to chart your course. Know why. It is very important. Your why is super, super important. You need to know why. If you're going to do this, you need to know why. So when we came out from law school, of course, we started that thing, and I started asking myself, I want to be on a global stage. I want to go very far. I want to do a lot of things for humanity. I want to be able to touch people.
You don't want to go through life unnoticed.
Exactly. I don't want to live here without a man. How can I do that? is it this thing that all my classmates are doing? Is that what
stand you out?
Is that what I want to do? I said no. So I had the willpower to be different. And I was, when I started, I was
saying first with intentionality. Exactly. You were first of all intentional.
Exactly. When
so
I started,
your drive made sense. Because some people have drive, but they're going towards the wrong direction.
Yes. Yeah. And when I started, it didn't make a lot of sense to people. But now it's getting clearer by the day and clearer. Okay, so just find a way to be unique in your own sense. That does make sense. Don't be foolishly unique. You know. So that's it for me today.
Wow. Barrister Nwankwo, we're going to do this again.
Thank you.
And again, because one episode is not enough. It was nice having you on the show. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Alright, you have heard him, right? Sometimes we listen to songs and we just think they're just songs. I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. I think about it every night and day. I'll be with you right after the break. You see, on Oma Living Show, we're not about trying to, fake it or trying to glamorize everything or trying to paint a picture of perfection. We want to tell real life stories that would actually inspire you. And that is why everything about the brand is all about process. We want to let you know that you can start from nowhere and get to a position in the ladder that will make sense to every other person looking at you. You've listened to Barrister Nwankwo. You heard some of his stories. I mean, the first time I heard them, I felt he was exaggerating. But then there is no one that wakes up to tell such lies. He is a symbol of grass beginning to get to grace because he's a young man, right? So what this tells you is that you can succeed. In the first season of Oma Living Show, our punchline was live well and succeed. Make it work. And daily, some of the songs we listen to, we just listen to them and just wave them up, but they tell us a lot. For example, I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. Do you understand? You can achieve it. Cheers to quality life. You will have it all. Till I see you next time, my name remains Marilyn Oma Anona. And please make plans to be part of the Oma Living Show Unsung Heroes Award and Entrepreneurship Conference. I love you. Stay inspired. Bye-bye.
Smoky bigger boss. You dey do me something. Tell me when you are ready. I want to give you something. You look so romantic. I can be a bouncer. You are my fantasy. You dey give me ginger. Can I be the one that will give you all you